Good morning. I'd ask you to please rise in body and spirit and join in singing our opening hymn, Though I May Speak with Bravest Fire. Now, the words will be up on the screens, or you can do it the old-fashioned way. Look in your hymnal at number 34. Oh, there are no hymnals, so just look up on the screen. Now, while the chalice is being lit, please remain standing as we recite our covenant. Enriched by our differences and joined together in our search for meaning, we covenant with ourselves and each other to seek truth in the spirit of love, to strive for justice, and to serve others with a joyful heart. Please be seated. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Delaware County. My name is Craig Harris, and I'm serving as your worship associate today. Lisa Jacobs, an upstanding member of our congregation, is our guest speaker. If you're attending a service here for the first time, special welcome to you. If you're viewing the service on Zoom, please remember that you can activate the closed captioning if that's helpful for you. And if you'd like to talk with others after the service, for the people on Zoom, just stay online. If you're attending worship in person, then please join us for coffee hour in Fellowship Hall after the service. We're now going to sing our centering song. The words will be on the screen. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe Each Sunday, we gather in community, carrying whatever emotions we are experiencing. Your spirit may be lifted with joy or brought low in sorrow and concern. We honor those feelings by dropping stones into this bowl of water. And just as the stones are held by the water, so are all who drop them held in love by this community. If you would care to do so, please file up the aisles on the center and return down the center aisle. And all are invited, I must learn how to speak. All are invited to join in this ritual. Those online can join us by entering their joys and sorrows in the chat. I'm going to drop two final stones. One is for the joys and sorrows of the people online who are not able to participate in this ceremony physically, and another one for all the people who are suffering from violence in our nation as well as abroad.
In honor of Thanksgiving, I invite you to join me in the Haudenosaunee Thanksgiving Address. The Haudenosaunee, or Iroquois Confederacy, speak the Thanksgiving Address before each gathering and have graciously shared their words with the world. Each speaker may develop their own variation, and it has been translated into more than 40 languages. I adapted the version in your order of service from one published by Robin Wall Kimmerer, a member of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation and SUNY Distinguished Teaching Professor of Environmental Biology. In Kimmerer's book, Braiding Sweetgrass, Onondaga clan mother Frida Jacques explains that the Thanksgiving Address embodies the Onondaga relationship with the world. Each part of creation is thanked in turn for fulfilling its creator-given duty to others. It reminds you every day that you have enough, she says. More than enough. Everything needed to sustain life is already here. Needless to say, it is long. Gratitude takes time. Please join me in the Haudenosaunee Thanksgiving Address printed in your order of service. Today, we have gathered here, and when we look around, we see the cycles of life continue. We have been given the duty to live in balance and harmony with each other and with all living things. Now, let us bring our minds together as one, as we give greetings and thanks to each other as people. Now, our minds are one. We are thankful to our Mother, the Earth, for she cares for us and gives us everything we need to live, just as she has from the beginning of time. To our Mother, we send thanksgiving, love, and respect. Now our minds are one. We give thanks to all the waters of the world for quenching our thirst, providing strength and nurturing life for all beings. We are grateful that the waters are still here and meeting their responsibility to the rest of creation. Can we agree that water is important to our lives and bring our minds together as one to send greeting and thanks to the water? Now our minds are one. We gather together to send our greetings and thanks to all the beautiful animal life of the world. They have many things to teach us. We are grateful that they continue to share their lives with us and hope that it will always be so. Let us put our minds together as one and send our thanks to the animals. Now our minds are one. We thank all the birds who fly above our heads. The Creator gave them the gift of beautiful songs that remind us to enjoy and appreciate life. To all the birds, from the smallest to largest, we send our joyful greeting and thanks. Now our minds are one. We turn our thoughts to all the fish life in the water. They were instructed to cleanse and purify the water and give themselves as food. We are grateful that the fish continue to do their duties and send them our greetings and thanks. Now our minds are one. We turn toward the vast fields of plant life. As far as the eye can see, plants grow, working many wonders. They sustain many life forms. With our minds together, we give thanks and look forward to seeing plant life for many generations to come. Now our minds are one. With one mind, we honor and thank the food plants we harvest. Since the beginning of time, grains, vegetables, beans, and fruit have helped the people survive. Many other living things draw strength from them as well. We gather together in our minds all the food plants and send them greetings and thanks. Now our minds are one. Standing around us, we see all the trees. Some provide shelter and shade, others fruit and beauty, and many useful gifts. Many people of the world recognize a tree as a symbol of grace and strength. With one mind, we greet and thank the tree life. Now our minds are one. We are grateful to the powers of the four winds. We hear their voices in the moving air as they refresh and purify the air we breathe. With one mind, we send our greetings and thanks to the four winds. Now our minds are one. We send greetings and thanks to our eldest brother, the sun. Each day without fail, he travels the sky from east to west. He is the source of all the fires of life. With one mind, we send greetings and thanks to our brother, the sun. Now our minds are one. We give thanks to our grandmother, the moon, who lights the nighttime sky. She is the leader of women all over the world, creator of ocean tides, and measurer of time by her changing face. With one mind, we send greetings and thanks to our grandmother, the moon. We give thanks to the jewel-like stars. When we travel at night, they guide us home. With our minds gathered as one, we send greetings and thanks to all the stars. Now our minds are one. We gather our minds to greet and thank the enlightened teachers who have come to help throughout the ages. When we forget how to live in harmony, they remind us of the way we were instructed to live. With one mind, we send greetings and thanks to these caring teachers. Now our minds are one. We now turn our thoughts to the Creator, or Great Spirit, and send greetings and thanks for all the gifts of creation. Everything we need to live a good life is here on Mother Earth. For all the love that is still around us, we gather our minds together as one and send our choicest words of greetings and thanks to the Creator. Now our minds are one.
I imagine a lot of you were at Thanksgiving dinners where someone said, "Let's go around the table and everyone say what they're thankful for." You might have said, "I'm thankful for my husband or wife or partner, my health, my loving children." Maybe even, "I'm thankful that we're eating at your house instead of ours because that meant I didn't have to clean up the house and do the cooking." But how many people said, "I'm thankful for being a UU"? Up until the 18th century, Christians were basically told that they were either going to heaven or to hell, depending on whether they had been saved through baptism and proclaiming Jesus as Lord and making sure their prayers were up to date. Being a good person also played a part in it, and forget about those Jews and Muslims and other heathens having a chance to get to heaven. Ugh. But Universalism changed all that. Universalism stood for belief in universal salvation. Since Jesus died for the sins of everyone, then hell was no longer in the picture. Everyone was saved and was going to end up in heaven. That was a lot to be thankful for. This caused quite a ruckus on the other side of the pond where John Murray was from. In fact, he initially thought the idea was crazy, but he came to America and he came around to this new way of thinking. He saw the light, so to speak, and became the first Universalist minister in the United States. Unitarian Universalism is no longer just an offshoot of the Christian faith. Whether you are a Christian or a Jew, whether you're a Wiccan or a Muslim or none of the above, be thankful that you are a Unitarian Universalist and that you are here today with people who love you, whatever you believe. Now, our congregation is entirely self-governed and financially supported by the generosity of our members and friends. To this end, we have an offering to sustain the work of this beloved community. Once upon a time, people passed the plate. Today, you can text your donation to the number provided on the screen, or you can put cash or check in the box at the back of the sanctuary. Both of these methods are secure. Thank you for your generosity.
Thank you, Craig. And thank you, Joy, for your beautiful music. Close your eyes and imagine yourself living here in Upper Providence Township in the mid-1700s. You work long days to feed your family, and on Sunday, you visit the traveling preachers for entertainment and enlightenment. "Repent," cries the preacher. "God holds all sinners in the palm of his hand. Depraved sinners walk among us, even sit in the very congregation oblivious to God's rage and their eternal torment in hell. Repent, repent one and all, and beg for God's mercy." People fall to their knees around you. Your neighbor moans, "Oh, how shall I be saved?" You go home trembling. The next week, another preacher comes through town. Word gets around, he's different. His name is George de Benville, and he's on his way from his home in Berks County down to Philadelphia to arrange the publication of the Everlasting Gospel by a German— They say his godmother is good Queen Anne. They say he once died and rose from his coffin after a day and a half with a vision from God that all would be saved. Maybe he would be worth hearing. De Benville smiles in the pulpit. He says as a teenager in the British Navy, he saw Muslim Barbary pirates being better Christians than he was. It had been, he said, my first lesson in understanding that the heart of religion is how people treat one another, not always what they say they believe. He tells of his work as a frontier apothecary, swapping medicines with Indian healers. They love their children, he says. In their villages, everyone has a voice and is cared for. How, he asks, can we believe that an infinitely all-loving God would consign good people like these to hell? As no church is pure in all things, so none can be found that does not contain some truth. Glorious truths are found in every church and religion under the sun. And this glorious chain of truths, we believe, will someday unite all of them in one form of love. De Benville proclaims the universal and everlasting gospel of boundless, universal love for the entire human race. You go home smiling and at peace. We all recognize the fire and brimstone message of the Calvinist preacher. It has embedded itself in the American psyche and led to the fear, polarization, and sense of collective helplessness of the 21st century. As you use, we cry out against the darkness and despair of our polarized world. We proclaim de Benville's vision of universal love and salvation. American Universalism has always been a faith of the common people because its logic seems so obvious. The love of family, the beauty and bounty of the earth, close, even sacred relationships with people from different cultures or beliefs led both early and modern Universalists to the conclusion that the divine is indeed all-loving, all-good, and wants humanity to be happy. No God casts people into eternal torment for unspecified sins. Instead, we accidentally create our own personal hells right here on earth. Our misery is self and other human inflicted, born out of misunderstanding, ignorance, or a stubborn arrogance that prevents us from admitting we were wrong and making amends. But the good news is we can change our attitudes, if not always our circumstances. Universalist preacher and doctor George de Benville saw the worst of humanity's blindness. During the Revolutionary War, he treated the wounds of both American and British soldiers. As a Universalist, he still saw the sacred humanity in both sides. His catchphrase became, "Honor the ocean of love." Honor the ocean of love. Certainly, these are comforting, aspirational words, but how do we actually do that? Calvinists claimed that humans needed the fear of hell to prevent them from sinning. 19th century Universalist theologian José Obalú responded that there is nothing in heaven above, nor the earth beneath, that can do away with sin but love. We cast ourselves on de Benville's ocean of love in a boat of compassion. We absorb so much self-doubt, self-criticism, and fear of the unknown from our overculture. We are human, we are flawed, and yet, Baloo says, we are loved. If sin in a UU context is harming ourselves or others by turning away from the interconnected web of life, then only love can bring us back into sacred relationships. But in order to experience this transformative love, we must hold ourselves and each other in compassion. Can we let go of our guilt? Can we let go of our shame? Can we let go of our deep, deep fear that the scary stuff in the world is somehow our fault, or that we deserve it? If we do, if we trust in that universal love and connection, we gain the courage to look at ourselves honestly and change the way we treat ourselves, others, and the earth. We are flawed, and we are loved. and we have the power to practice compassion and responsibility in our daily actions. We are not alone on the ocean of love, of course. It's hard to be compassionate for that obnoxious, bigoted uncle at Thanksgiving dinner, especially when he shows no interest in building a loving, sacred relationship with us. And yet, de Benville and Ballou say, even he is loved. He can also be wrong and prejudiced and arrogant, blinded by his inner fears, living in a hell of his own making, separated from his loved ones by his words and deeds, setting boundaries on his conversation and enforcing them if need be, allows everyone to maintain right relations at Thanksgiving dinner. We can hold our crazy uncle in love and compassion while calling him to account and to be a kinder, maybe a happier human being. Can we see ourselves with the same clear, loving eyes? Unitarian Universalism as a whole has struggled to become a more pluralistic denomination. We want to be a welcoming congregation. We want to make space for people of color, of different genders, abilities, educations, economic backgrounds. And yet we struggle. Widening the Circle of Concern, published by the UUA in 2020, argues Universalism's sacred love and interconnection provides the theology to become a truly inclusive and beloved community. Only together can we truly honor the ocean of love. 18th century Universalism grew out of direct contact with others who turned out to be equally human and holy. From its place of divine love, the Universalist Convention publicly condemned slavery in 1790, one of the first American denominations to do so. It was also the first national denomination to ordain a woman, Olympia Snow, in 1864. After all, how could one of God's children own another? How could only half of humanity preach universal love and salvation? In an even more diverse and pluralistic 21st century, we daily meet others and recognize our sacred interconnection. We manifest this wisdom, argues Widening the Circle of Concern, by intentionally opening ourselves, our congregations, and our pulpits to the voices, insights, and worship styles of our Black, Indigenous, people of color, LGBTQ, and differently abled siblings. As our spiritual ancestors long argued, only when all voices can publicly preach our sacred love can any of us hear its many chords. I would go further. Universalism gives me the courage to admit that I and my family have benefited from the intersectional injustices of systemic racism and a white supremacist, heteronormative, ableist culture. Universalism gives me the faith to face the darkness of my unexamined biases and do the painful inner work of removing them. Universalism tells us that our personal hells are of our own making. By acknowledging our failings, working to repair them, and trying to make amends, each of us can return to right relations with individuals and society. How do we gauge our actions and return to right relations? Through our UU ritual of covenant. Every Sunday, we recite UUCDC's covenant at the beginning of worship. Ideally, these words bind us together in a shared vision of right relationship. In practice, I at least don't spend a lot of time thinking about it. Widening the Circle argues, maybe I should. Covenants are the promises we make to each other. When we ask our crazy uncle to honor our boundaries, he joins us in a small covenant. When we speak our sacred, shared covenant in worship, we bring our minds together as one in universal love and sacred relationship. At its best, a covenant isn't just words. It inspires and holds us to account. And this is why we update our covenants regularly. Ours is a living tradition. Our congregation evolves over time. Opportunities and challenges in the world change. our covenant must too. Here at UUCDC, we have a golden opportunity, a once-in-a-decade opportunity even, to do just that. Next Saturday, December 2nd, at 9 o'clock, we will be meeting to do the sacred work of developing our new covenant. Who are we as a congregation? How do we practice divine love and sacred relationship? What brings us together and makes us whole? Whose voices are lost in our current covenant, and how do we make sure they are heard from now on? To serve our entire congregation, to guide UUCDC into a bright future, our covenant must be written by the broadest possible number of voices. So come share our fellowship, share your voice, and live out our holy universalism next Saturday. 21st century universalism calls on us to honor the ocean of love beyond our fellow UUs, however. Since 1985, our 6 sources have listed many wells of sacred wisdom: prophetic individuals, world religions, earth-centered and indigenous traditions. As de Benville said 300 years ago, no individual or faith has all the spiritual answers, but each has some. Widening the Circle calls us to heed the wisdom of Black and Indigenous traditions. Too long has our society heard only the words of white Europeans. This limited vision impoverishes us all. The Haudenosaunee Thanksgiving address reminds us that we are only one very young species in the vast ocean of love, and our fellow species need us now. In the 18th century, de Benville's radical universalism preached universal salvation for all humanity. But in the face of environmental pillage and catastrophic climate change, we must be even more radical. We must open universal salvation to the entire biosphere. Science tells us that we are literally inextricably interconnected. The particles of our body, of the earth, of the sun, of the farthest stars were once one singularity together before the Big Bang. Now, on this beautiful blue-green ball, we thrive in a network of sacred relationships with the plants, animals, water, air, and soil that sustain us. The Haudenosaunee Thanksgiving address brings our mind together in gratitude for the work of each member of this greater-than-human web. Robin Wall Kimmerer writes that her people, the Anishinaabe of the Upper Midwest, survived colonization and cultural genocide because they knew they were a part of a greater whole, and that network provides enough for a good life. Who doesn't feel hope and gratitude reciting the Thanksgiving address and recognizing the bounty before us? But Kimmerer goes further. She writes that each being in creation has a gift and a responsibility to the universal whole. Humanity's gift alone of all creation is the gift of gratitude. Faced with fear and, yes, the guilt of living in the most wasteful society in human history, I hear the words of our Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe elders with gratitude. We must consume less. We must live more mindfully, and yet, as the Thanksgiving address assures us, everything we need to live a good life is here on Mother Earth. Universalism is no faith for the faint of heart or the rigid of mind. These days, challenges seem to multiply exponentially. Angry voices scream at each other across political aisles. Rights, once assured, vanish at the stroke of a pen. Systemic racism divides our nation and weakens us all. War and terror stalks the world, stealing the lives of innocents. It is easy to lose hope. Universalism demands that we take a both-and approach to conflicts and challenges. Change, for good or ill, will come in the 21st century. As Universalists, we see an opportunity to form a society built not on the bitter Calvinism of the past, but on the universal love and interconnection of the future. This summer, At General Assembly, the UUA will vote to update its own covenant. You see on the screens, possibly, there we are. You see on the screens now the shared Unitarian Universalist values graphic developed by the Article 2 committee. I have to admit, when I saw it last spring, I thought, well, it's Instagrammable. But it's grown on me, because in the center is love. Our other values spread out around it like the first nodes in an interconnected web: justice, generosity, pluralism, transformation, equity, interdependence. They represent the ways we can enact our universalism. But at our core, we honor the ocean of love. May it be so. Blessed be and amen.
Can I have my last page, please?
Absolutely may. Would you like both of them?
Okay, that works. Okay, I invite you to rise in body and spirit and join us in singing our closing hymn. We won't bother with the number. Love will guide us. Please remain standing as we recite the benediction and extinguish our chalice. For those who come here seeking God, may God go with you. For those who come embracing life, may life return your affection. And for those who come to seek a path, may a way be found and the courage to take it step by step. Blessed be. Okay. And I now invite you to go to coffee hour in Fellowship Hall.